Well, hey, good morning, everybody. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast. We discuss news and politics. I am your host. My name is Jared. Welcome. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. It's Saturday, right? The Ides of November, which is, which is not a thing. And every morning when we start this show, we start a little bit of war. You'll notice I post a bunch of links in the comments as we talk. One of the things it does is it keeps you not necessarily on topic, but it keeps you in the know, sort of, with what's going on in the world. Because as we've kind of learned, if they're doing stuff in other countries, they'll try it here. There are no new ideas. Get me off the front page of Reddit, that's for sure. By the way, yesterday was the 80th anniversary of FDR's speech where he basically said we're all due socialism. He went a step too far, and it pissed off the capitalists, and that's why we are where we are now. Is that he said everyone is due a job, okay, and not everyone was meant to work for someone else. There's just some portion of the population that aren't competent enough to like run their own operation, but they're also not willing enough to like work for someone else. And you just have to accept there are going to be people living in caves. There are going to be people living under rocks. One of the things that when I've talked about socialism, the only difference for you is you'll notice you have money in the bank. I mean, just think about it. Like, what if you just got a $500 deposit every Friday? God, it would alleviate so many problems, right? That's universal income. Plenty of places already have that. I've had conversations with people like I wouldn't want it. Cool, donate it. Shut the fuck up, right? Go buy lottery tickets. Stop talking. Same thing with universal education. I had this conversation, in the last few months. Now that college campuses are giving away an education, is it worth it? 1,000%. See, what stupid people don't understand is that some of us had a guidance counselor that looked at our grades and our test scores and sat down with us and talked to us about what we liked and said, well, I think you ought to do this and you ought to try to go here. And there were tiers like, well, ideally, you get into the Naval Academy, Jared, and you become a naval aviator. That would be ideal. And I didn't get into the Naval Academy because they took someone from my town the year before and he fucking dropped out. Had to go to like a preparatory academy. And that kind of made us all look bad. So I didn't get accepted. No, I'm not. I can't really say that I didn't get accepted to the Naval Academy because of that. My grades might have slipped. I think they wanted a 3.9 or better GPA, and I think I had a 3.86. So I don't think it might have been connected. Mike Files, never forget that. But yeah, think about this: the most prized possession when you're a high school senior is a full ride scholarship to college. That means that your hard work in high school got you free college. Stupid people forget that. Now that schools are giving away tuition to anyone based on income in a lot of instances. In most places, it's under $250,000. You could just go back to school, and a lot of places are online too. So there's no fucking excuse. I'm gonna go back to school. I'm weighing my options. I'm heavily considering Harvard. Though I only have like 15 classes left for a bachelor's degree in political science, and they're like $250 a class. That's nothing for a fucking Harvard BA. Okay. BS, sorry, political science. But Australia's going free electricity. Okay. How does that sound? All for all of you that are not like opposed to socialism in all its forms. Look at your fucking electric bill skyrocketing and tell me, wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have to pay that electric bill? If solar energy were a public utility? What if we gave the sun's power away? Or is that too hippie for you? You know what I mean? Like dead ass. Australia's gonna do it. A whole ass one of the continents. Wildly important shit, right? Americans, meanwhile, pay in excess of $600 a month in some places for their electricity because America. Is it because you only drive a quarter mile to get gas? Is it because there's a burger joint a couple miles away that you like and a Mexican restaurant around the corner? Me too. Worth? Yeah, Gabby said, sounds great. My electric bill's insane, right? You know what's insane? Electric bills and HOA fees. I have talked to so many people that, okay, pay a monthly HOA fee in the three and four figures. Oh, hell no. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Nowhere. No how. Not doing it. Especially when everybody I talk to is paying like $2,000+ a month for where they live. Very rarely do I talk to someone that's paying less than I do for housing, which is fucking insane. Because I pay $1,500. We talked about that yesterday. But think about your electric bill. Now, here's what I'm saying, by the way. When we talk about socialism, there's this conversation about universal housing, right? Um, and how do you pay for that? And oh, you have to build housing. And no, 3.1 million empty homes in the United States, many of whom are here. I had this unique thought yesterday. Are you ready? Of the 3.1 million empty homes in the United States, about a third of those are on the verge of being like historical sites. And I can promise you, if you ask someone, would you rather be fucking homeless or have to mop these wood floors every now and then? They'd be like, "Oh, I'll mop. What's the fuck? What the fuck's up?" So that's what I mean. Is that there's a significant portion of the empty homes in the United States that aren't gonna get purchased for what they're worth and need restoration, and they need someone to take care of them, and live in them. Not necessarily like make it available to the public, but it is a considerable portion of empty homes. It solves the homelessness crisis. It's a fucking idea. And then, hey, on Australia's tip, how about all these farmers that are losing all that money? How about you just take all your remaining cash, invest in solar fields, sell your electricity to the state? Ding, bing, bang, bong. You get to keep your property and your farm, and you might have to get rid of some of them fucking tractors, but you don't need them shits anymore. So I'm just trying to think of ideas for us to survive. I'm not really a big fan of fucking total human annihilation. You know what I mean? You got people out here cheerleading nuclear war and shit, and I'm like, what if we just gave electricity to everybody? We could do it. The government could subsidize companies producing electricity. One of the big fears that we have in the United States here is that our entire electric grid is held up by pins and needles. No shit. There are like 9 major substations in the United States. Did you know one of them burnt down in Texas last year? That means that there are only 8 big electric substations in the United States managing the electricity in the US. They were under threat during the election. By the way, yeah. So think about that. You have all these farmers that are gonna lose their whole asshole. Why not just put up solar panels? Grow a garden. Dig in. You know what I mean? Yep. Yep. You want the government to subsidize your farm? How about you produce electricity for us? You know why capitalists don't like solar power? Because once you buy it, you have it now. Again, I think we've talked about this. I just want to make sure we talk about this. I have clients with 40, 30, 20, 10-year old solar systems that still work. It's never a bad time. The only complaint I've heard from all of the people that I've met in the last 10 months that have solar is that they wish they'd have waited a little bit because of how much cheaper solar has gotten over time. You can see why now, because the price of solar is now dropping like crazy and the efficiency is skyrocketing for solar. You could see why capitalists have turned their head to that market and said it's solved. Once you get to a certain point where it's this battery type, it's this panel type, it's this connection type, right? It goes on with this cord, goes in this. Once that gets solved, it's over. And they're on the cusp of not necessarily monopolizing the market, but basically every company will just put out the same thing. And companies want to break through. And the reality is, from my limited education in solar, we're up against a wall where we're hyper efficient now. Solar is wonderful. It has been wonderful for about the last several years. People have been on solar for a long time. Back in the day, it took a whole mess of panels and a whole bunch of wiring know-how and an electrical panel and several fucking batteries, and you had to have a shed and you had to move it away from your house, right? and it was wildly inefficient at delivering electricity. That was a long. Those systems still work. That's why capitalists hate that shit. Why? Because you don't need to replace it. You could, but you don't have to. And then eventually think about like USB. Once a solar system becomes USB plug and play, it's over. Now all you got to do is either replace the panel, replace the cable, or replace, or you know what I'm saying, like, or replace the battery. It's a simplified process. There's not endless development, and that's why capitalism failed. Capitalism fails because it runs into, oh, it's hyper efficient. Oh yeah, let's go look for something else that's inefficient that we can make efficient and profit off of. It's not that there's not profit in solar. It's solar has gotten so cheap that companies are like, "Whoa, we got to figure out what else can we do. We got to get them a battery backup. We got to get them some other thing to make money off them because these machines are too efficient now." Yep, that's what I've heard. I watch videos where guys go and buy solar and test it versus the shit that was out last year, and they're like, "You keep doubling the efficiency every year for we do this for 18 months. We're at the point now where you could charge a cell phone 7 minutes off a solar panel. What the fuck are we talking about? This shit's hot." So that was my spiel about solar. I would totally get it, but I have things that have to happen first. One of the things that my wife and I have as a priority is we have to like clean out our house. Like when we moved in and we moved from somewhere else, it's like we never really got to move in because we both just had to go to work and had life. It wasn't like we had paid vacations. You know what I mean? So we never really got to like get all the boxes and shit out of our house and get all the furniture that we aren't using out and shit. So otherwise, I would be like investing in solar. It's just going to keep getting more efficient and cheaper, and eventually, what you'll see are your big box stores, your WalMarts, and your Myers and your Targets are going to sell solar. hmm And my envisioning is it's a 1 foot by 1 foot panel that you just set outside, plug it into a battery, and then battery goes into a connection into your outlet. And I'm telling you, at some point we're going to get so efficient. And as far as batteries, they've got pretty efficient batteries. We're still not great. You'll still have to replace that battery, and it might cost you a few $100. But it's getting more efficient, and that's hey, the batteries are also super pollutants. And of course, we talk about how awful people are. Uh, illegal rubbish dump, illegal trash dump in England. Yep, and the development on batteries is still like happening. hmm Russia increasingly targeting trains. 800 attacks recorded since the start of the year. Jesus Christ. Russia can't turn a blind eye as Ukraine boosts missiles and preps new defenses against civilian safaris. Oh no, what does this mean? What the fuck does they mean by safari? Actually organizing human safaris and training drone operators by killing Ukrainians on streets and roads. Can't fight. They can't fight straight up. These are the kinds of things that start wars. An explosion inside an India controlled Kashmir police station kills 9 people. Volodymyr Zelensky promises an audit of state companies, and that will be handed over to anti corruption authorities. Why? Okay, that's silly. Read off all the companies that are financing Russia's war. Marburg virus. What the fuck? Ethiopia. Come on down. Ethiopia confirms an outbreak infecting 9 caused by Marburg virus. What in the Sam fuck is Marburg virus? Guess we're gonna have to look this shit up. Alright. This is your new nightmare. Marburg virus causes a severe, often fatal, viral hemorrhagic fever. Oh wow, you burned to death. Fever, headache, severe bleeding. Humans contract the disease from infected animals like bats or through contact with bodily fluids from an infected person. There is no approved vaccine or specific treatment. Egyptian rosette bat. Jesus Christ. The virus can be found in semen for a long time after recovery. Don't have sex with men, basically. Donald. Stop taking shots to the face, Don. Never heard of Marburg. Remember a while back we looked at the Gripen fighter jet that Saab is building. They signed a $3.6 billion deal to build them for Colombia. Shit's going off the rails in fucking Sudan. It's still world news, even though it involves the United States, but the U.S. conducted its 20th strike on boats, on alleged drug boats. U.S. and South Korea are gonna build nuclear subs. Yo, check this out. North Korea runs out of shells for Putin, so Russia turns to faulty stockpiles. North Korea has sharply reduced the volume of ammunition it supplies to Russia. Hey, Mother Nature's undefeated. Remember, I told you that. In Argentina, there's a massive explosion. Rocks Spegazzini Industrial Park in Aziza. Multiple factories. Ooh. Mind your ear holes when you click on that first video. There's the initial shock and then there's the clap. Mind your ear holes. The Polish president seeks to have the Communist Party of Poland outlawed. I'm reading. Naruki argued that communist ideology is directed against fundamental human values and the traditions of European and Christian civilization. Yeah, it was a big ass explosion in Argentina. A crazy fucking time to be alive, man. They literally are deporting people to countries they're not from and losing them. And the countries that they're deporting them to are just locking them, putting them under lock and key and saying, we'll keep them safe. What the fuck are you doing? Russia, my wife will pick up on this. Russia is gaslighting us about the German general's comments about Russia attacking NATO. Despite their behavior, despite all their actions on the contrary, here's Reuters saying, hey, the Russian Foreign Ministry on Friday dismissed a German general's comments about the possibility of conflict between Moscow and Germany as baseless fear-mongering. Speaking of which, The United States and Argentina have reached a deal to open markets on key goods. Hmm. Awful lot going on with Argentina. Wonder why. Oh shit, bro. So, oh man, this is super demoralizing. Not for me. Not for me. For if you're North Korean in the I don't follow our enemy's traditions very closely. Is service compulsory in North Korea? If so, here's a Reuters story saying, "Hey, the majority of the North Korean soldiers that are fighting in Russia are EOD, bro. They're demining. They're explosive ordnance disposal. Bomberman. No? Anybody seen Hurt Locker? Not a desirable job. You're not a combat. You're usually pre or post. Just saying, they usually aren't getting shot at while they're trying to fucking disarm a bomb. I was the 0351. I was the actual bomberman. I was the guy they taught to use the explosives. The EOD are the guys disarming my shit. We were buddies. It's like magnets. You're just drawn to each other, right? So I met EOD guys that were bad motherfuckers, right? That'll show you how big of bombs, the daisy chain bombs they disarmed and shit. Hell yeah. Super fucking demoralizing. If you're a North Korean soldier, I mean, think about all the jobs that you could have in the military. And I get it. My audience is female dominated. No offense, ladies. I don't expect you to have any fucking parallels to, hey, if I wrote down a list of jobs that you could do in the military and you thought about all of the things that you could do for your country, I'm almost guaranteeing that you would rather wash fucking dishes and do laundry than fucking uh, explosive ordnance disposal. Now, I'm not saying that to disrespect that community of people. People select EOD after guys left the infantry to go to EOD. Do you understand? Because they felt a purpose, a calling, right? It's certainly not a job you would take coming in. So if you have a hard time understanding why that's a big deal, understand that if I asked you what would you like to do for your country, disarm fucking enemy bombs in the battlefield would probably fucking not be one of those things. I'm willing to bet you'd be like, "Oh, what is EOD?" And the guy just goes, "Oh shit." Uh so you could blow your shit up. What do you mean? We're gonna teach you how to disarm bombs. Okay, and then we're gonna send you out there in a big suit. Uh, you mean I'm gonna walk up to it? Yeah. Really? Yeah. And then you're gonna do some shit, and it's gonna not fucking blow up on you. Uh, can we do this with a drone? You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying. I'm saying most of the time, if you had to fucking choose what you were gonna do, you would not choose to be sent on a solo death mission, right? That's what I think of all the things. You're not actually fighting the bad guy. You died to a fucking pipe bomb. Nope. Gonna guess that's not what you wanted to do. Uh, Imagine getting sent from North Korea to Russia, and your job is to demine the battlefield. That's like worst than the lowest position. It's very difficult to explain if I'm not talking to a bunch of people that have already served. When you are out in the battlefield before or after demining, it's the same thing as being like EOD. Yeah, it sucks. And I'm willing to bet you they're under fire. I'm willing to bet you they don't have fucking dogs and drones and fucking tools and gear and fucking backup and cover and they don't have any of that shit. So it's just super fucking demoralizing. And again, it's North Korea, so fuck them, right? It's super. I'm beat up a little bit about this. Like the majority of the North Koreans that are fighting in Russia are fucking demining. Haktua. That's what Russia thinks of North Korea. That's how you treat. It's just Reuters. I don't know why Russia's doing this. Russia proposes its own UN resolution on Gaza in a challenge to the U.S. draft. Big words. The European Parliament pledges to tackle transnational repression against human rights defenders. Parliamentary report identified China and other authoritarian regimes as harassing and attacking dissidents abroad. Well, you can see how this goes fucking sideways. The U.S. military is planning for divided Gaza with a green zone secured by international and Israeli troops. And look at these contractors on fucking backhoes just like scooping people's whole lives up, bro, and just push it the fuck aside. We're putting in a parking lot. Oh yeah. The octopus goes cereal. Ukraine begins mass output of its new Shahed interceptor drone. You know what I was thinking? I try to think about cheap and effective, right? Wouldn't a net shot from another drone, like one of those exploding nets, where it's like compacted and when you shoot it it opens up and like drone catching, wouldn't that be better than like, you know what I'm saying? Like as opposed to putting a warhead on a drone, it has a high cost now. Putting a gun on a drone has a cost now, right? It's just I know I'm just thinking out loud, you know. What if you used a net? What if you shot a net at it? It'd cost way less. It'd be just as effective. I have a feeling. Are you ready? Here's my prediction for the future. You want a little bit of premonition as somebody who wanted to be an astronaut when I was a child. Okay. Uh, Drone development and pilot development, like drone pilot development, is going to get into a space where the Ukraine is able to fight Russian fighter jets with drones and outmaneuver. Because think about this, part of the limitations of the aircraft are the person flying it. What if it's an unmanned fighter jet? Like I've said, I've already said this. This is me repeating myself from yesterday. But imagine like a small fighter jet with just smaller sets of munitions. It'd be way more maneuverable, be just as fast, right? But it'd be anti-drone. Fast enough to beat Russia's air defenses. If it's small enough and fast enough and turns fast enough, it's competitive with the Su aircraft, right? And I think the drone development is going to get into a space where Russia's not prepared, and their helicopters and their aircraft are just getting fucking torched. And the investment from Ukraine to do that is nil comparatively. Like these Shahed drones, I don't know anything else than the story says, right? But I can only imagine if it's a longer range drone, what its impact on another airborne target would be. And can you imagine a $500 drone taking out a $50 million airplane or more? My envisioning for what's gonna it's gonna piss some people off. Because think about all these people that are investing billions and billions of dollars into large, slow moving fucking aircraft, right? The big spy planes and shit. Meanwhile, as far as what Ukraine's doing, they're producing medium to long range drones as a and I mean short, medium, and long range drones effectively now. Yeah, with the Shahed interceptor, that's a medium range interceptor drone, defensive drone. And then this story talking about Ukrainians army chief, we are developing to counter Russian plans. Russia had been we showed that they've been bombing civilians, right? That's what I was thinking, catapulting nets. I think about what's cheap and effective, right? Obviously, like an electric pulse, right? But I don't know how you could send a shock between two objects from a distance. But a net though, if you were matching its flight speed and you were in range and you shot a net at it, it hits those blades and then it gets caught up in the net. It'd take a drone down, and that net costs nothing. But it's that conversation right there that we're talking about nets. How a small drone, you can go buy a drone. Well, you used to be able to go to Radio Shack and buy a drone for $130 that would fly for 2-3 hours. It was a nice little drone. Okay, I don't know if it could take a payload, but I'm willing to bet you could stick a net, like a diver's net. I think they make those. hmm Hey, remember, man, I'm so smart. I'm just kidding. So, remember how we were just talking about earlier about how Australia is going to give its people free electricity, right? Here's a story about how Germany is going to subsidize uh, energy prices to revitalize their economy. Think about what it's going to take in the United States, right? We need to turn uh, electricity into a public service and invest in clean infrastructure. The U.S. government needs to operate solar fields and just provide electricity for everybody. Do you know what that does? It gives the government function. I feel the same way about Twitter. The US government should take Twitter and turn it into a public utility, free for everyone, free and fair for everyone. Hmm. Deadass. It's the communication superhighway. Yep. And that's not so the government can profit off it. That's not why I think it should be. It's so people don't have to pay for it, and so that it's free and fair for everybody is the reason. Not so the government. Yeah, obviously you could see how if the government's managing your electricity, how Donnie would turn it off, right? I think the thing that Donald Trump will do that's great, he set so many precedents that I mean he's been turned away at almost every dick and ball thrown his way, except for a few apparently. Um, so recently there were some Major League Baseball players cited for gambling. Some NBA players too. Um, Baseball and gambling makes me sad though. In the Dominican Republic, it's Dominican Republic has 3,500 registered betting shops. I'm so glad. I'm so glad gambling never really did it for me. I gambled a little bit, had some success, failed, and was like, I'm not living on the poles of those two eternities. Let's share the show. Switch over. And as always, as we say every day, free Palestine, Slava Ukraine. And a lot of people seem confused on boycott, protest, and strike can just be your life. Okay, your behavior. You know, my wife deleted Waze yesterday. You see how these conversations have that we have they have impact, right? This when we said get rid of Messenger, get rid of Facebook, Threads, IG, I meant that because they're tracking you. Same thing with Twitter. They're just tracking you. And you're due a better social media experience. That's why I always say if you're on Blue Sky and you want a better social media experience, yeah, fuck Waze for investing in Donald Trump. Waze helps you avoid traffic, right? we'll close on this space story and then switch to U.S. news and politics. Okay. Here's Chinese astronauts returned after a delay coming back due to space debris. This is my least favorite. If you had to ask me what story does Jared fucking hate, this would be it. I hate seeing the US deporting fucking veterans. I really hate fucking the United States deporting a veteran with a Purple Heart. What the fuck? Army veteran and Purple Heart recipient who served 2 tours in Iraq was deported on Friday morning from an immigration detention facility in Florence, Arizona. Arizona State Representative Raquel Terran told Fox that Jose Barco, a Venezuelan-born veteran whose family fled Cuba as refugees, was deported at 4 a.m. Anna Stout, a volunteer on Barco's defense team, told Denver 7 his team was not notified of plans for his deportation. Barco's family has still not received confirmation of Jose's current location as of Friday evening. We have not received word from Jose or anyone else with first-hand knowledge that he has actually arrived in Nogales. We only have the official statement from ICE to go on, but no confirmation of Jose's current location. He was 39 years old. He served 15 years in prison for a felony conviction of attempted murder. He fired a gun at a house party, suffering from PTSD. One of the bullets he fired hit a 19-year-old woman in the leg. He was actually released on parole after serving 15 years. Here's the thing. He didn't deserve to be deported and treated that way. First human bird flu case in 9 months confirmed with strain only seen in animals before. What? I think my wife has brought this up as this is how we die. Human bird flu. A Washington state resident has tested positive for bird flu. The first human case confirmed in the U.S. in 9 months. High fever, confusion, and respiratory distress. Hospitalized early November. H5N5. Strain of bird flu previously been reported in animals but never before in humans. Oh, shit. Yeah, the reason they call it H5N5 is because there's... A plan to bomb one of Chicago's premier events, the annual Pride Parade that draws more than 1 million people, may have been in the works. Still hibernating. Bird flu in humans. Fucking Mardung virus or whatever. The President of the United States taking face shots. And remember, these emails are not the Epstein files. So if you see the dumbest of comments that the Epstein files are being released, and that's what we're currently looking at, know that no the fuck we're not. These are emails from the Epstein estate. That are being released to the public. Hey, I play Path of Exile. That is the most solitude fucking game ever. I'll share it with you one day. I'll probably start over. Or I'll use my character as a mule and then start a new character and show you. It is the most head down. It's a hibernation game. By the way, this happened like right after our show yesterday. The president came out and said, "Hey, we're gonna probe Epstein files for other ties to the Clintons." Man, everybody but Hillary, huh? A new prosecutor has been chosen in the Georgia 2020 election interference case against Trump. Pete Skandalakis, executive director of Prosecuting Attorneys Council of Georgia, said he'd do it himself. Yeah, so keep in mind Donald Trump's trying to kill the release of the Epstein files. So it's good that these emails are coming out. As Donald Trump pardons UK billionaire and former Tottenham owner Joe Lewis. Oh wow. And some must have now turned it on Dems, of course. Yeah, keep in mind he said that they were a hoax like the other day. He's going through the cycle of denial. Oh, Tesla's going to straight up go out of business. Tesla requires suppliers to avoid China-made parts for US cars. Where in the United States do we manufacture car parts for Tesla? I don't think they do. There's a bus crash in Stockholm. A bus crashed into a bus stop and killed 3 people. Just a freak accident. That's why you got to keep your head on a swivel, right? You got to be able to get out of the way of a bus. A judge says he'll approve Purdue Pharma's new $7 billion opioid settlement with the Sacklers. $7 billion over 15 years. Iran's water bankruptcy problem is nothing new. Days or even weeks of water left for Tehran. Day zero, as they call it in the water sector, is near. It's a day that the taps would run dry. a country of more than 90 million people, facing an unprecedented water and energy crisis as reservoirs sink to record lows. The nation is grappling with its sixth consecutive year of drought. They're saying if it doesn't rain by the end of the month, they're going to have to evacuate Tehran. Decades of mismanagement, lack of foresight, and an over reliance on groundwater resources. More than 70% of Iran's over 90 million people are in a few metropolitan areas. That sort of human concentration anywhere in the world would cause trouble. So, do you see why it's important for nature that we spread the fuck out and that we aren't all gathered in one place? It's almost the same thought process as when we protest. You don't want to all be in the same place because then you give them an expectation of how many people are going to be there and they can manage that crowd, right? But if there's massive fucking protests all over the place, there's absolutely nothing anybody can do about it. It's just fucking protest. And where the fuck do they go? And this is the why Donald Trump's bombing them, because where the fuck do you think they're gonna go? The good old U.S. of A., right? Hopefully Italy. By the way, Italy seems pretty lit. I don't know, and we're talking about 100 million people, you know, and we're talking about 100 million people potentially being evacuated out of their country because it's nationwide in Iran, and it's also their fault from decades of mismanagement and an over reliance on groundwater. So think about people have to be leaving in mass migration. Hmm. And think about it. In the United States, we have people in the United States that they're putting a bill to stop immigration altogether. I think I read that in the United States. They're trying to stop it altogether. This is, remember, this is a nation of immigrants. Immigrants built this country. If you're a white person, you're an immigrant, or the son or the daughter of an immigrant. If you're black, you're an immigrant, right? If you're indigenous to the United States, that's when it makes sense that you're anti-immigrant, because it really is your country, right? Hmm. So know that we should be open and accepting. You got to understand a bunch of people are going to be forced out of their homes as a direct result of a mismanagement of their water supply. Yeah. And where do you think they're going to go? The good old US of A. I can almost guarantee that. Hmm. London judge finds global mining company BHP Group liable in Brazil's worst environmental disaster. I'm a football coach, so of course My heart goes out to John Beam's family. John Beam is a football coach, and most notably from Last Chance U from Oakland, California. He was featured on that Netflix series, Last Chance U. It showcased his success with players other coaches wouldn't gamble on. It was a targeted attack. Laney College. The guy that did it knew him too. But it was the second shooting in in 2 days at the school, and Beam was really close with all his players. I think this is relevant. Warren Buffett's got a new job at Alphabet, which is the parent company to Google. Big word. Jesse Jackson has been hospitalized under observation for a neurodegenerative condition. Here you go. Jeffrey Epstein offered a reporter photos of Donald and girls in bikinis in my kitchen. Among the more than 20,000 Epstein documents released by the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee on Wednesday are several email exchanges disgraced financier and sex offender Jeffrey Epstein had in 2015 and 2016 with friends, attorneys, and reporters about the prospect of a Donald Trump presidency. So, one example is this email conversation between Jeffrey Epstein and Landon Thomas Jr. I think we talked about this, but it's an AP story, so there's no harm in resharing. Okay. Donald Trump has decided that four left wing European networks are terrorist organizations. Okay, I'm reading, trying to gain some understanding about the four groups. Okay. The most prominent of the European groups targeted by the Trump administration this week is the International Revolutionary Front. Also known as the Informal Anarchist Federation. I like anarchy. It first made itself known in 0304 when it sent explosive packages to then President of the European Commission, Romano Prodi. See how violence delegitimizes you. Let's see. Armed Proletarian Justice is the name of the group that took responsibility for planning a bomb outside the which failed to explode outside the Athens Riot Police building. A new network calling itself Revolutionary Class Self-Defense. Final network is known as Antifa Ost East. Antifa East. Hold on. I gotta read this shit. Four members were convicted in 2023 of being involved in hammer attacks on neo-Nazis or suspected neo-Nazis in Eastern Germany. Fuck yes, that's metal as hell. Literally, hammers are made of metal on the head. That's great. Donald Trump is a racist piece of shit. A display about black soldiers in World War II has been removed from a U.S. military cemetery. Where's this? Boston University. Alston leaders demand response from Boston University after students said he called for ICE arrests. The Boston University College Republicans president claimed credit for a raid. No. Resignation doesn't absolve him of anything. Oh, hey, Verizon's gonna cut 15,000 jobs as it restructures. Wonder what their billionaire CEO gets paid. 15,000 jobs, y'all. Think about all the job cuts. But yeah, you don't tender a resignation and then not face any consequences. Like I said, most of what's going to happen to Donald Trump's after he dies anyway. Mm-hmm. U.S. bishops officially ban gender affirming care at Catholic hospitals. I hope this means no dick pills. I wonder what the Catholic hospital has to say about Viagra. Ooh, headlines I like. These Reagan appointed judges have had it with Trump. A handful have lashed out at Donald Trump after their rulings. How are you going to give me this job and then mock me? This is what I fucking hate. Makes me so goddamn sad. A lot of my queer friends who are anti-violent have had to buy guns out of fear for their safety. And I'm a big guy. I keep to myself, so I've never really felt like the need to conceal carry or own, possess, even practice shooting a firearm. I have no need to do that. But here's our article. The Liberal Gun Club. Laura Smith is the person there with that massive fucking shotgun. CBC here with the obvious question. It's been a rough couple weeks for Donald Trump. Is the worst yet to come? Yeah, yeah. I'll answer that for you. If you think Bill Clinton face fucking Donald Trump was the fucking end, I think it's like the tip of the iceberg. Dar Global is a Mideast development firm has set up shop in Tower. Dar Global bet big on the Trump name. It is now an essential foreign partner for the Trump group. So, divest from Dar Global. What does Dar Global own? Luxury, residential, and mixed real estate projects. Trump, Aston Martin. Oh, strategic partners. Are you ready? The Trump Organization, Aston Martin, Missoni, uh, Ellie Saab, Marriott, W Hotels, and Pagani and Lamborghini. Oh, brands that you and I ain't buying anyway. That shit's going out of business. Well known luxury brands. Here's a little more about Dar Global. Saudi Arabia, by the way. Yeah, did you see all them brands and like you and I, we ain't fucking Pagani? Do what? Rashida Tlaib doing the thing. Tlaib is leading the charge to recognize a genocide in Gaza. Trump likely to face long military commitment and chaos if he ousts Maduro in Venezuela. Yeah, it's like why does he like Putin and dislike Maduro? I'll tell you, oil oil and gas, oil and gold. Here's Donald Trump's lawyer, uh, emeritus Harvard Law professor Alan Dershowitz, saying Jeffrey Epstein's not a pedophile. And you recently saw Megyn Kelly. I want to make sure I talk about this with my audience. You saw Megyn Kelly saying they're not pedophiles. A 15-year-old is different from a young child. Um, any time the boy is over 18 and the girl is under 18, at the bare minimum, it's called statutory rape. Just call it what it really is. Say what it really is. And then understand, depending on the laws in your state, and I get it, for a lot of people, there's no gray area. Okay? There isn't any gray area because that's a crime. Statutory rape's a crime. If her parents wanted to, they could sue. Okay? Now, if she's under 16 and you're over 18, that is sexual abuse of a minor, at least in Indiana. Okay? Now, I don't know what the law is because I'm not a fucking child predator. But I have to imagine sexual abuse of a minor goes all the way to what before it's full blown pedophilia, and I don't care. So again, like I said, if the boy is 18 and the girl is under 18, it's statutory rape at the minimum. If she's under 16, it's sexual abuse of a minor. Beyond that, it becomes pedophilia at what rate, at what point? I don't care. I don't care. Okay. There's no normalizing of this behavior. Yeah, and Matt Gates did, in my eyes, one of the most despicable things I've ever heard in my whole life. Matt Gates had sex with a homeless girl in exchange for money so she could get braces. And oh, by the way, she was 17. So when you ask what was wrong with the Gates situation, motherfucking everything. Hmm. This is the Republican fucking party. And again, I want to continue to point out, and Donald Trump's still taking shots to the face. Just okay. The next story gives me so much joy that I have to share another story that gives me joy before it, so we can kind of ramp into it. Cool. It's the highlight of the show. Here we go. I know. Yeah, right. Been a rough ride so far, right? Trump says he's gonna sump. Donald Trump says he will sue the BBC between 1 and 5 billion. The BBC already apologized and says they ain't paying shit. Okay, okay, I lied. I'm gonna share this story too because this was from yesterday. Trump asked the FBI to investigate Epstein's relationship with Bill Clinton. Motherfucker, you had his dick in your mouth. What do you mean investigate? You know all about him, Don. What the fuck? Alright? But yeah, Kai Trump shot 13 over 83 at the LGPGA Tour and was fucking last. Last. Jeffrey Epstein from the fucking grave is absolutely threatening people. What about your relationship, Don the Con? Oh, they don't name the lawmaker. Damn. An analysis by the Post suggests it was Stacey Plaskett, the U.S. Virgin Islands non-voting Democratic delegate. Plaskett was the member of Congress in contact with Epstein. Montana has an ambitious plan to end dark money in elections. 74% of voters in this state will back a ballot initiative to counter the effects of Citizen United. Yeah, for real though, beyond the grave fucking shit up. Straight up. Again, again, I know that he's a terrible person. So let me make sure that I say like, look, I absolutely fucking horrific. Donald Trump is a fucking nothing. Let's just say it. Say it. He's a nothing. Jeffrey Epstein is a fucking mastermind. He had Donald Trump clocked. There's a reason he's dead. Yes, he's a fucking horrible person. But his fucking emails are gonna take Donald Trump down from the grave and show that he was not kind to Donald Trump behind his back. And that's probably why he ain't here. Trump, 79 years old, said he didn't understand why he needed a MRI. Why did they do a scan? And then obvious and most joyful. This should give you such a great amount of joy. Mostly because I we talked about how Republicans are realizing that if they are going to have any sort of political future, they have to distance themselves from Donald Trump. It has to happen yesterday. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is sort of the one that has stepped up, bit the bullet, and just been like, fuck you, Don, and finally drawn the ire of Donald Trump. And last night he cut ties with her and posted this long rant on social media and dismissed her, and she's going to leave MAGA and she's going to go to the America First Party, and again MAGA will die and it will be revived as the America First Party. About that time, let's throw some Eat the Rich. Yeah. Yeah, look, you can't trust Trump. All he's gonna do is take dick to the face. You know what I'm saying? Trump's new national security strategy suggests further domestic crackdown. What's Don gonna do? Suck their dicks? It's funny. I did post it and nobody liked it on social media yesterday. That how progressive of the United States to elect a gay man twice. Like, we should be applauding ourselves for how open we are into electing a gay man as president. I mean, do you understand this? Everything Trump touches dies. Yep. Let's check the weather and get out of here. Look like wintry mix to bring ice and slippery roads to New York and Vermont this afternoon. Flash flood warning in California, like Los Angeles, like Oxnard, Thousand Oaks, Santa Barbara, getting absolutely threaded. All right, here's the whole country. All right, it looks like spots of rain in the northwest from south, all across Washington State, just kind of sparing. northern Oregon, and then there is a storm off the coast going into southern Oregon. There is a massive system in southern California, northern Mexico. Flash flood warnings. Hey, if you live in like a 4 state slash 2 country area here, I'm talking about Mexico, California, Nevada, Arizona. Hey, you ought to be looking at this storm here that could provide considerable flooding. Also, I see a storm system north of us, Lake Michigan. Looks like Western Illinois, Wisconsin looks like it's getting some too. This would appear to be like a rain snow mix. And then, like we said, in the northeast part of the country, you're looking at some rain and snow. But all in all, like clear. You know, if I had to really say, it's like 37 states in the United States got dick going on, and you know, about 13 states do. So, have a great Saturday. Keep your head on a swivel. Obviously, no surprises when it comes to this weather, right? And we'll see you tomorrow.